I'm not married. I don't have an apartment. I don't have a home. And honestly, it's deeply unsettling to me. She was once hailed as the epitome of American television, a shining star of the 1970s. Susan Dey, a teenage girl barely past 18, catapulted to iconic status almost overnight. With her crystal-clear beauty, effortless talent, and a smile that captured the hearts of millions, she became a household name. Yet for all her radiance on screen, the life behind the scenes was fractured beyond recognition, a childhood scarred by the sudden loss of her mother at age 8. The suffocating pressures of fame pushing her to the brink, leading her to extreme dieting that nearly destroyed her body. A long-held love for her co-star, a love that never blossomed into romance but instead was twisted into betrayal and splashed across tabloids for the world to see. And then, after years of dazzling success, she vanished from Hollywood. She rejected reunion invitations, severed all ties with the very industry that had built her up and broken her down. What happened to the star once called America's youth treasure? Why did this rising icon, at the height of her fame, choose to walk away in silence? What was the true story behind Susan Dey's smile? The one she fought so hard to protect. This is the untold tale of a dazzling star whose brightest moments were overshadowed by the darkest of personal tragedies, where fame met heartbreak behind the curtain. Susan Dey was born on December 10, 1952 in Illinois into a middle-class family. Her father worked as a newspaper editor, and her mother was a nurse. At first, her early life unfolded like that of any other child, quiet and unremarkable. But that calm would not last. When Susan was just 8 years old, her mother passed away suddenly. The shock of that loss became a silent wound that she carried with her throughout her life. It was a source of grief and a void that could never be filled. But instead of crying out in pain, little Susan withdrew into silence. She learned to fold in on herself, growing up too fast for someone so young. After her mother's death, her father moved the family to New York, where he remarried. His new wife, Gail, was practical and perceptive. More than a stepmother, she unknowingly became the person who opened the door to Susan's future. Gail recognized Susan's unique beauty and took photos of her, sending them to modeling agencies. At the time, Susan herself didn't believe she had anything special to offer. But Gail persisted, nudging her toward the spotlight. That same spotlight would later lift her to fame, but also drag her into emotional depths from which she would struggle to escape. At 15, Susan began her modeling career, signing contracts with major agencies. Her soft features, soulful eyes, and presence, innocent yet striking, made her stand out. For the first time, Susan felt a sense of validation she had long feared she didn't deserve. But what she didn't realize was that the spotlight, which arrived so early, would demand a price that would prove far too steep. Photo shoots and magazine covers were just the beginning of a whirlwind career that Susan was emotionally unprepared to face. In 1970, at just 18, a modeling photograph of Susan caught the eye of an ABC producer. Without any formal acting training or prior experience in television or film, she was cast as Lori Partridge in the musical sitcom The Partridge Family after just a few auditions. Her natural charm, expressive eyes, and pure presence made her the perfect fit for the role. The producers were convinced they had found the ideal American teenager, and they were right. Lori Partridge quickly became one of the most beloved characters on early 70s television. The show became a cultural phenomenon, with soaring ratings, chart-topping albums, and an explosion of fan devotion. Susan's face was everywhere, on posters, magazines, even plastered on school notebooks and bedroom walls. Fans sent bags of mail to the studio every week, and the girl who had stumbled into modeling, thanks to her stepmother's encouragement, was suddenly a national teen idol. Far too quickly for her young heart to process. But the price of maintaining her perfect image was steep. Producers demanded she stay as thin as possible to meet the beauty standards of the time. Terrified of criticism, consumed by the public gaze, Susan began extreme dieting. At one point, she lived only on carrots and celery. Her weight plummeted to just 41 kilos. Her arms were so thin, they looked as though they might snap at the slightest touch. Yet, every time the camera rolled, she wore a smile as if everything were flawless. Despite having no formal training, Susan immersed herself in learning to act, harmonize, and play piano, all while filming. She threw herself into her work, fighting to keep up with the pressure of sudden fame. The Partridge Family ran for 4 seasons, producing hit songs, best-selling albums, and multiple television nominations. But as the spotlight grew brighter, the cracks inside Susan deepened. At the height of her success, she was haunted by an overwhelming emptiness. Who could see the loneliness of a girl forced to grow up too quickly? In 1972, at the height of the show's popularity, Susan made her film debut in Skyjacked, alongside Hollywood legend Charlton Heston. Just 2 years earlier, she had never even set foot on a film set. Now, she was starring on the big screen. Though her role wasn't a lead, it was enough to prove to audiences and filmmakers alike that Susan was more than just a pretty face. She had the potential to be a serious actress. That same year, she also released her book, Secrets on Boys, Beauty, and Popularity, which became a bestseller. As America's sweetheart, Susan became a role model for teenage girls across the country. But the higher her fame soared, the darker the shadows grew. In 1974, the Partridge Family came to an end while still on top. Fans were devastated, and Susan was left with no time to breathe amidst the glitz and glamour. When the lights faded and the sparkles of Hollywood fell away, what remained was a quieter, thinner Susan. Haunted by the fear that she would forever be trapped in the role of Laurie Partridge, a character far happier than the girl behind it. Though fame had come easy, escaping it would prove to be a much harder battle, one that nearly cost her her true identity. After the Partridge Family, Susan entered the most difficult phase every former teen star fears, escaping the shadow of the character that had made them famous. She took on roles in Hawaii 5-0 in the film Skyjacked before tackling a serious project in 1978 with the series Little Women. But the world of Hollywood couldn't shake the image of Laurie Partridge. Each time Susan took on a new project, she was still seen as America's teen idol. The weight of being typecast became a constant pressure, and every new role came with the expectation to be something different. In 1977, Susan took a leap with the romantic sitcom Loves Me, Loves Me Not, hoping it would mark a turning point in her career. But the show lasted only 6 episodes before it was canceled due to poor ratings. Despite this setback, Susan proved her worth with a powerful performance in Mary Jane Harper Cried Last Night, where she portrayed a young mother struggling through a psychological collapse. The critical response was positive, proving that beneath Susan's sweet image lay a performer capable of portraying deep emotional complexity. It wasn't the euphoric fame of her Partridge Family days, but it was a spark that reignited Susan's belief in herself. She could succeed in Hollywood, not just as a teen idol, but as a serious actress. But it would take a defining role in the 1980s for Susan to truly redefine herself in the entertainment industry. In 1986, Susan was cast as Grace Van Owen in the groundbreaking legal drama L.A. Law. This was no ordinary role. It was a chance to step into the ranks of serious actresses in Hollywood. L.A. Law became a cultural phenomenon, depicting the fiercely competitive legal world of Los Angeles through high-profile cases that shook American society. Within this high-stakes environment, Grace Van Owen, first a sharp-witted prosecutor, then a strong and compassionate judge, quickly became one of the show's central figures. Grace demanded emotional depth, as Susan portrayed the character with a perfect balance of strength, intelligence, and vulnerability. The show captivated millions of viewers, and Susan's performance earned her a Golden Globe for Best Actress in 1988, along with 3 consecutive Emmy nominations. But Susan wasn't content to simply ride the wave of her success. She fiercely protected Grace's character, demanding that she not be reduced to a stereotypical love interest for ratings. Because of Susan's insistence, Grace Van Owen became an icon of modern womanhood. Intelligent, self-possessed, and unwavering in her pursuit of justice. At the height of her career, however, Susan's personal life was unraveling. Her marriage to Lenny Herson, a Hollywood talent agent, was slowly crumbling, despite the joy their daughter Sarah brought them. The pressures of fame, combined with personal differences, led to their separation in 1981. But Susan didn't crumble. Instead, she continued to pursue roles driven by authenticity, rather than the allure of easy fame. In the years that followed, Susan found peace in her quiet life with Bernard Sopransky, a television producer who understood the brutal realities of Hollywood. With Bernard, Susan found the safety she had longed for. In 1988, they married quietly, and together they built a life away from the glare of the spotlight. Susan no longer sought the validation of fame. Instead, she found contentment in the simplicity of a life where she was loved, not for her image, but for the person she truly was. And with that, Susan chose peace over fame, quiet over noise. She walked away from the Hollywood spotlight to embrace the serenity of a life well lived. Susan Dey's greatest legacy lies not in the awards she won, nor in the roles that made her a star. It lies in her courage to evolve, to step away from the glare of fame and find peace within herself. Her story is a reminder that behind the glittering facade of Hollywood lies a very human battle for identity and inner peace. Today, Susan lives quietly, away from the public eye, and chooses to give back in ways that truly matter, advocating for survivors of sexual violence and making her mark in the world through compassion. Her story is a testament to the quiet power of choosing self-love, self-preservation, and the courage to walk away when the light grows too bright. Now that you've heard Susan Dey's story, what do you think of her decision to walk away from fame in search of who she truly is? Leave your thoughts below, and don't forget to subscribe for more stories of brilliant and quiet journeys from those who once captured the hearts of the world.